YTBC, this is your boy Coach Shelton Harrison. And guys, I want to talk about selfish people. Many of us guys, we deal with selfish people on a day-to-day basis, okay? And guys, me being a performance trainer, I deal with selfish people day in and day out. I can deal with that behavior from children. I can because I understand that a lot of them don't really know any better. Okay, but when I have to deal with that behavior from adults, well, that's where I draw the line. I'm going to talk about, toward the end of this video, I'm going to talk about three people. I'm going to talk about Joseph Sewell, I'm going to talk about 10 Players News, and I'm going to talk about John Boxing, okay? I'm going to talk about these three gentlemen at the end of the video, and I'm going to tell you about them that makes these guys on a whole nother level, okay? I'm going to tell you about that. But guys, I run a performance center for athletes here in my area. I run a performance center and I work with kids. I work with children on the high school level, and I have a 100% I have a 100% success rate on anybody that start my program from start to finish. They sign a full letter scholarship. We're not talking about a partial scholarship. We're talking a full letter of intent to attend a Division I collegiate university. Okay, they sign a full letter. It's no ins about it. Even kids who thought that they were not gonna be a college athlete, they're college athletes after they come through my program, and that's just the way that is. Guys, I want to talk about some of the parents that frequent my business. I want to talk about them. And I want to give you a discussion, okay? And people, I want y'all to see this from a point of view where I'm looking at this now as a coach and a businessman. But now I understand why some people don't do well in life. It's because they're selfish. And selfish people, for some reason, they tend to always be at the end of the stick. It don't matter if you got a lot of money or, some people, selfish people, they do have money. Some selfish people don't have money. But I understand, though, that those two groups of people, they're missing something in life. And the American blacks, okay, they have a problem of supporting each other. We do. We have a problem with that. And guys, it's an ongoing problem. Like the Africans, they don't have a problem with that. Africans, they support each other. Jamaicans, they support each other. Whites, they support each other. Asians, Hispanics, they all support each other. But where did the American blacks miss it? And I have to drum it up to one thing: selfishness. And you say, Coach, well, what do you mean? People, you know what? I work with a lot of different athletes. I work with a lot of athletes, y'all, a lot. And, the biggest promotions come from different races. The blacks that frequent my business, I have more blacks that frequent my business, but the bulk of the promotions don't come from the blacks. It comes from the different races. And, I have a Jamaican family, they come, they promote, and I have one African family, they promote. Those are the only blacks, but they're not American blacks. None of the American blacks that frequent my business, they never promote it. They won't do it. And I used to always try to ponder that and wonder why. And so one day, the answer came to me. It came to me big time. I was talking to a parent, and she said, Coach, I really appreciate what you're doing for my kid. Man, she's more confident. She definitely believes that she can get stuff done. She's more pleasant at home, yada, yada, yada. So I'm like, okay, great. And then she said, but there's somebody that I know for a fact that could use y'all because this kid, is doing bad in school. This kid is not performing well. This kid is a good athlete. I see the talent that she got, but I'm not going to tell her about y'all because, well, I can't have nobody beating my kid out. Not right now. And, I kind of thought about that, and I said, you know what? I told this parent, how selfish can you be? I said, you selfish. She said, what? What do you mean? I mean, my kid need an edge, and you the edge, and yada, yada, yada. So I said, you know what? I understand now. I understand why you're at a position. I understand why you are where you are. I understand. And it's one of those parents, sometimes you have to drop the kid off because the parent works a lot of odd jobs. And not saying anything negative about what she has to do professionally, not anything like that. But this parent has had a lot of struggles, a lot of different struggles. And it's not because she's a bad person. It's because that her and people like her, they're selfish. And there's even a parent that come to me with a lot of money. But she's selfish. But you know what? Her marriage is in turmoil. See, selfish people, they can't get ahead. Whether you have money or you don't have money, if you're a selfish person, you can't make it. Eventually, being selfish, it's going to cost you in the end. You will not. You will not be able to be successful. And I thought about this. You see, I have whites, Asians, Hispanics, all of them. They promote me. Because you know why? American blacks, they have not figured out the value of psychological progression. See, they don't. There's no value in that to American blacks. But to other races, psychological progression, if you don't know what that is that you're psychologically affecting that person's child to be more confident in what they do. You see, whites, Hispanics, Africans, Jamaicans, they got it figured out. You see, if you come to somebody that they can give your kid confidence where you couldn't as a parent do that, see, that's invaluable. Those parents will give you whatever they want, and whatever you want, they'll give it to you. And I'm gonna tell you, here's an example. I was talking to a parent, a white parent, and she came up to me and she was writing me a check, and I said, ma'am, you overpaid me, and she said, I can't pay you enough for what you do. I cannot pay you. She said, my son, he comes home, he's more pleasant, he's more confident, he's doing better in school. I mean, he's more respectful. He's doing stuff at home that he wouldn't do. He's taking, charge of his chores. He's respecting me more. You see, parents like that, they know that that's invaluable. She said, Coach, I cannot pay you enough for what you are doing. I can't. There's no amount of money that could pay you. And I started really putting two and two together. See, here on the same day, I talked to one parent who didn't want to promote me, and I talked to one parent who has always promote me. Why? Because, see, I noticed that American blacks will not help each other. They just won't do it. And they understand, the other races understand about psychological progression. They understand that to a T because they want to help somebody else be psychologically stable. Because they understand that the more psychologically stable people on planet Earth, then the better off they're going to be in their later years. You see, there's always a reason. There's a reason. But I get more promotions. I get so many more promotions out of different races besides American blacks. And American blacks are the ones that I have to work the hardest with because they're difficult. They're completely difficult to work with at times. And you deal with more crap. Like the other races, I don't have to chase them down. I don't have to give them a reminder at the end of every month that, your payment due on the 3rd. I don't have to remind them. You know who I have to remind it? It's the American blacks. And guys, I'm just telling you exactly what it is. I don't have to remind. The other races, you know what they do? They pay early. They pay early. The deadline is the 3rd of every month. You know what they do? They pay at the end of every month. Never fails. They never late. The American blacks, if you don't tell them that they have to pay you, like I have to tell them on the 1st of every month. The 1st of every new month, I say, okay, the 3rd's coming around, and I need you to bring it on this day. I have to tell them that because if I don't, they're not going to pay you. People, I'm so serious. And people, I'm not lying. I'm not saying I'm putting blacks down. I'm not. Because I told you that Jamaicans and Africans, they can do it, and they black. But I'm talking about American blacks. We don't have it figured out. We just don't have it figured out. And it's because we're selfish. It's all being selfish. And yes, there are different races. There are a lot of selfish people in different races, okay? And let's not put that beside, okay? But I'm talking about in the context of I'm a black-owned business, and I've noticed I've had more problems out of the American blacks. Many more problems than I could ever think for as being in business. See, when I was just a coach and when I didn't have a gym and I could just coach people, on the city's dime, I really didn't care much about it because I didn't have to deal with all the other stuff. I didn't have to deal with business. I didn't have to deal with the overhead. I didn't have to deal with, maintaining a business. I didn't have to deal with all that stuff. But now that I'm in business, I understand. I understand now, no, I'm not going to stop servicing people on low levels. I ain't going to stop doing that ever because that's where my heart is. But for you to tell me that, you know what, I'm not going to promote you because you are going to be bad. Anybody else is bad for business when it comes to my child. You see, I kind of got thinking about that. And I'm like, that we're trying to grow this business. We're trying to make it successful. But the other American blacks don't see that. Okay, they don't see that. They don't understand the psychological progression that you're giving their kid. They don't understand that. And that's why when I look at a lot of these black families, American blacks that come to me, they're in two different states. They either have no money and they always never having money, okay? Or they have a lot of money, but their social and their marriages are all crap. I see them in two different states. And I see it all the time. And it doesn't even fail. Every time. Okay? But now I see why they're in the states that they're in. Because of being selfish. And they've got to where they're at in life because of being selfish. Okay? I want to talk about three people. I want to talk about 10 Players News. I want to talk about Joseph Sewell. And I want to talk about John Boxing. Okay? The 10 Players News, they don't know nothing about me. They knew nothing about me. But they made a video promoting what I do. They made a straight up video about education, and that point blank promotes everything that I do. They pretty much, it takes them, if y'all know 10 players, it takes them a long time to create these videos. See, people like me and, a lot of 78, we can make a video in 20 minutes, drop it, and we done. Okay? 10 players news, they can't do that. They got graphics, they got to disguise their voice because that's their style. And they have to put those graphics, that stuff, they just don't just sit there and do that. It takes time, y'all. But they took time to create a whole video, devoted that to education because I asked them to. Not even because, I just all I did was ask them to do it, and they said, okay, coach. And next thing I know, I look up, there's a video on education. People, they didn't have to do that. They didn't have to do that. I don't even know these people by face, but they're promoting something that interests me. It's called being unselfish. It's called being unselfish. Okay, Joseph Sewell. This man, and Joseph, you said this in the video, man, and I respect Joseph on a much, much deeper level now. I respect him. I already respected him, but I respected him on a decent level. And Joseph, I hope you don't mind me sharing this, man. If you do, man, I apologize to you up front. But Joseph said in one of his videos, he said, you know what? I'm a convicted felon. I'm a convicted felon. But this man has turned his life around. But listen, not only has he turned his life around, he left me a message. And Joseph said, Coach, I appreciate what you're doing for them kids, man. He said, listen, I want to make a donation to you. Let me tell you something. I'm not doing this video to get donations. So don't any of you butthurt people get on here and start saying that crap. But I respect Joseph on a whole nother level. Because, see, this is a convicted felon. Okay, this guy's he's a convicted criminal that turned his life around. But Joseph understands psychological progression. He understands what I'm doing for these kids psychologically. You see, that is priceless for these other races. Man, look, they can't pay you enough. They think that you charging them a fee. They think that they ain't paying you enough because they understand what you're doing psychologically for their kids. They understand it. But Joseph understands this. He understands it quite well. This man got out of jail. This man works a great job. This man is putting in his hours. This man is doing for his son. This man is being a father. Okay, a lot of men can't even be a real father. Joseph had turned it around, but Joseph even just a convicted criminal can come back and get this, y'all. A convicted criminal can get this. Hey, American blacks, you know what Joseph said with that statement? I'm gonna donate to you. He's telling everybody you're an American black. You need to start supporting your own. You need to start supporting your own. And I respect Joseph now on a whole deeper level. It's much more deeper now. And 10 Players News and Joseph, they can't tell me nothing wrong. If they make a suggestion to me, I'm going to listen to it. You know why? Because they've earned definitely my respect, especially 10 players. People say, oh, man, you're a 10 players fanboy, blah, 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 blah. You know what? They've already showed me who they really are. 10 players not going to tell me anything that's going to mess me up. They're not. They will not tell me anything that's going to hurt me or mess me up. And I believe that because anybody who would go out on a limb to do something like that, that means they have your best interest. 10 players told me, I lost my cool the other day, man. They said, Coach, man, we don't use the word FLOMO in the context you think. Listen, I don't care what you say. If you're telling me 10 Players News said it, okay, fine. I'm with that. Because they didn't have to go and promote my business. Joseph Sewell did not have to go and promote my business by saying, Coach, I want to help you help some of these young kids. I mean, he didn't have to do that. And then you got John Boxing. John Boxing, pretty much, man, I Facebook, me and him Facebook friends, and I go on there. John can see the stuff I'm doing with the kids. And John is, he's sharing videos, man. He's thumbing up stuff, man. He is promoting this stuff, man. And I respect John Boxing because he's pretty much saying, Coach, I appreciate what you're doing with these kids. See, people, these three guys, they don't know me from Adam, but they understand the psychological progression of what's happening here. I need some more of you American blacks to step up. You guys have to step up and start supporting our own sometimes. And that's just the way that is. This is your boy, Coach Shelton Harrison. I'm done.